maybe you can just give the audience just a general idea from your understanding of what
Yeah.
happens when we die.
Okay, then thank you so much for the opportunity. And folks, what I have learned from interviewing thousands, I mean, I just, there's no way to enumerate it. The people that I have interviewed, beginning in 65 was the first living person I've heard. Uh, then I just continually heard these stories from people all over the world, and who tell us of at the point where the doctor, as they often say, they hear the doctor say, oh my gosh, she's dead, or we've lost her, or or whatever. But they say from their perspective, um, they feel that they leave their body and they can see the event of the resuscitation from above, and after may actually be able to understand what the doctors and nurses below are communicating, not, they say, in an auditory fashion, but it's like they understand the thoughts. And that, but when they try to say in a term that nobody can see or hear them, so they sort of put two and two together. Oh, this is dying, right? And so that point, they say they're in this. People say they go through some sort of passageway, which is variably described as a tunnel or a hallway or whatever, but that they emerge from that into a bright light, far brighter than anything you have experienced, they say, while you're alive, and that yet has a personal quality to it, like a comforting presence. And they go into this and that um, say that they may encounter relatives or friends of theirs who have already passed away, who seem to be there to meet and to greet them. They say that it's not you see a physical form, but it's nonetheless, they say it has kind of a form, but that the awareness of who this is through the heartfelt connections and the memories and so on. And at some point in this, unfolding thing, they say that everything else kind of disappears, and they are surrounded by a that the everything else disappears, and that time stands still. There's just no such thing as time, and they are surrounded by a holographic um, panorama, as it were, of everything they've ever done. And very often is typically, in my many cases, there is a personal presence. They're often identified as, Christ or God or an angel or and that this loving, compassionate person or personal being is there, and that there's a kind of review of all these things you've done, and that you see in each incident not just from the perspective you had as an actor when you did it, right, but also simultaneously from the perspective of the person with whom you interacted. And that, therefore, if you do something kind and loving um, to someone, then you feel the good feelings. On the other hand, if you do some unkind or cruel or whatever to the other person, then which I have never done. I mean, I hope none of you have ever done anything like that. I mean, I certainly wouldn't. Hey, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. In other words, which that we things that we've all done, or just and everything time stands still, and you see everything at once, and that it's very often in the company of this being, as I say. Sometimes they report it as they say that the most common thing is people say there's no words. Okay, this is not in words, but when they try to put it into words, they say it's like a question. It's like, what have you done that you want to show me, or how have you learned to love? But the whole theme is generally love, and interestingly enough, to a somewhat lesser degree, I fear to say, being a knowledge nut, is knowledge. And for example, people say that in this review, where they see things in which they had been learning something, that it's just this slowdown or this focusing in on this, and the thought comes from this being that this is good thing, and that that this is this path knowledge, um and that it, that this is something that literally, as I, many people have told me this, as I remember in the specific words of George Ritchie, who said, he said, I was astonished to learn. He said, this process of learning is something I gather. He said, that goes on quite literally. He said, for eternity.
Yeah.
And you've been, not just George, lots of people who have these extremely lengthy cardiac arrests, the same thing.
Oh, just
But this idea of the knowledge is
yeah.
and this the love, that that the most important thing we can do in this life is to learn to love. And then they come back, and it's not that easy.